Hello there, and welcome back to the Codex. So today is going to be one of those more quick PSA style videos where we're targeting newer players who are probably more likely to not know about this. So if you're a more veteran player and you already have this weapon and you already utilize it in the way I'm about to go over, give us a little bit of leeway here. We want to get this information out to the people that might not know it already because it's incredibly useful. So it was a little tongue-in-cheek when I said, or when I titled the video, "The Best Melee You'll Never Use," or whatever I end up titling it, because as of the time of recording it, I haven't actually chosen yet. Because you do need to actually, of course, have the melee equipped to benefit from it, and that is the Praedos. Now, for those of you that aren't aware, the Praedos is one of the Generation 0 incarnates that came with Cavalero, along with the update, the Angels of the Zeraman. So we got this before we got the circuit, before we got all the rotating weekly incarnates. This is one of the OG original incarnates. So that's why older players probably already know about this, but a lot of people, when they're using the Praedos, they don't actually use it as a weapon. They only use it simply to have it equipped to benefit from its incarnate evolution buffs, because the second evolution here, you can get 20% sprint speed and 20% slide speed, and then from the fourth evolution, you can choose 30% parkour velocity. 30% parkour velocity is incredible to get for free. That is more parkour velocity than a Tau-forged Amber Archon shard can give you. This makes any frame move around the game. Well, if you want to be pedantic, it doesn't make frames that fly like titanium, obviously, because that's not parkour. But you get the idea. It makes any frame that is parkouring around the map parkour so much faster. This is incredible to have on, even if you never swing this melee once. However, a lot of people, because of that, don't put an actual build on the Praedos, including myself. Up until maybe a few months ago, I was only benefiting from the Praedos for the movement evolutions, and then I realized if I'm going to have this equipped anyway, I might as well put an actual build on. So I was trying to think, what is a build that would work for this weapon, given the fact that I'm not usually attacking with it? So this is the pretty much the build I came up with. The one flex mod here is going to be Spoiled Strike. The reason why this mod is okay, before you freak out on me in the comments, is because usually we don't use this because there's better options, or because we don't like the negative 20% attack speed especially. But if we're just slamming with this build, the negative attack speed doesn't really do anything, so it's fine. This is also one of the incarnate melees that does not get 100% additional melee damage from its incarnate evolution, plus we wouldn't be activating it most of the time anyway, so taking another secondary base damage mod isn't as much of a diminishing returns situation. So this build is just a heavy attack setup. So we have Corrupt Charge here giving us initial combo, of course. We have Seismic Wave tripling our slam damage. We, of course, have our base damage, primarily in the form of Prime Pressure Point, and also with the Flex mod spot Spoiled Strike. This could also be Gladiator Might, for example, or it could be a Smite mod if you want to do a lot more damage against only a particular faction, or if you have a Riven, of course, like I do. Typically for me, it's my Riven here, but per usual, I don't do Rivens in my videos. That way you guys can actually copy the builds, and so on, so on. And Melee Duplicate is very good for a slam setup, assuming you aren't, only orange critting or above, because this will work on slams. So if Duplicate goes off, which on this build, it'll go off 92% of the time, because this the crit chance on a heavy slam, again, heavy slam on this build, is actually 108% crit chance. It says 64 here because this is showing the non-conditional crit. This is not showing the slam crit. When you're doing a heavy attack or a heavy slam, the crit chance from Sack Steel is doubled, so you get another 220%. So again, this is actually 108%, which means that only on that 8% chance to orange crit will this not go off. So most of the time, this will give you a secondary slam hit, which is very nice. Now, the reason that I'm using Corrupt Charge instead of Galvanized Reflex, because I know that's probably going to be a question in the comments, is because keep in mind, the way they were going to be using this weapon is if you have it equipped primarily for the speed buffs, the parkour velocity, for example, and you're only occasionally whipping this out perhaps to take care of a Acolyte or some other harder target like that, like maybe you want to slam an Xmas real quick because your guns aren't killing them as fast as you want them to, or any kind of situation like that, you're not going to have kills stacked up with Galvanized Reflex to actually benefit from the initial combo, because the way that Galvanized Reflex works is that you only start getting initial combo as you get melee kills. So just to match the plus 1x multiplier that Corrupt Charge gives you just for simply having it on, you have to first get at least one kill with Galvanized Reflex. So of course, if you are going to be using the weapon more actively, you could swap this out, and that would give you even more slam damage. So that's totally up to you. I'm keeping on Corrupt Charge because this always gives you 30 initial combo. Even if I whip out the Praedos after 30 minutes of not touching it a single time, I will have a decently high damage slam ready to go. So that's my freezing there. Another nice thing regarding that is that for the third evolution here, you can choose plus 15 initial combo, which 15 on top of the 30 from the Corrupt Charge mod puts you over 40, which actually puts you at 3x heavy combos instead of 2x. So that's a 33% damage increase basically right there. Puts you from 3x to no, I'm having a stroke here. It's you're at 40 combos, so you're at 3x. So that's a 50% damage increase. My bad. Had a little mathematical moment there. Yeah, so going from 2 to 3x is a 50% slam damage increase. So that's pretty nice. And for this last one, you can take collecting ammo grants 5 melee combo counter. This is especially good if you happen to be running Naramon, because this means that you'll actually have a much higher combo than usual, even though you're not actually landing melee hits, because just picking up ammo while you're shooting will build up your combo. So instead of only having a 2 or 3x combo, when the Acolyte comes around, for example, you might end up be sitting on a 12x combo and do an insane amount of damage to them. So with all that yapping out of the way, let's hop into a mission. I'll show how good this is in terms of the speed buff that it gives you. And then I'll also show you how much damage it's able to do. I am going to take all these parkour shards off, by the way. I'm gonna take all 3 of these off that way. The only thing we're benefiting from is the Praedos when it comes to movement speed. All right, let's hop into that. So I've been in the mission here for just a couple minutes. And just to showcase the parkour here, you can see that, again, I took off all the shards and Firewalker and Sprint Boost, everything off my frame that was affecting sprint speed or parkour velocity aside from the Praedos. So now it's just the Praedos. You can see you definitely get if I can actually hit walls here properly, a nice little speed buff for your parkour maneuvers thanks to the Praedos. And again, you can make this course even better by also putting on those Amber Archon shards. That's typically what I do. On a lot of my frames, I'll have at least 1 parkour velocity shard on. So really this video is more of just a PSA on how incredible parkour velocity is. And you should definitely be using it because getting around faster is in reality one of the best buffs you can give yourself on Warframe, because then you can get through your missions faster, get stuff done more quickly, achieve more rewards per hour, etc., etc. And it just feels really, really good in this game with how fluid the movement is to just increase that mobility rate. Now we're just waiting on an Acolyte, of course, to see how decent the Praedos is at that. Now you can see here I just went from 45 to 50 combo there because I picked up some ammo. So again, as long as I keep picking up ammo, you'll actually build up some additional combo, but you'll always be on this build at least 3x. Let's see what the damage is like with that. There we go, everybody. All those guys died. So it's perfectly fine at killing regular enemies. You can slam into a crowd of guys like that and you'll kill basically all of them, especially if you are buffing the Praedos in any way, because of course right now, for the purposes of this showcase, this test for this video, I'm not giving any buffs so that you can see what it's like at a baseline. But if you slap this on any kind of frame buffer, you have Roar on somebody, or you're playing a Siren with Venom Dose and Toxic Lash, or any other of the hundreds of buffs we have in this game, you apply it to the Praedos and it'll perform even better than it already is. So now I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead for you until the Acolyte spawns so you can see that. All right, we've got an Acolyte coming in just a moment here. Let's go ahead and get rid of these guys. Let's pull out the Praedos. Let's see how this does. Oh, if he stops teleporting away. I can actually get my slams in. Yeah, so you're not going to one-hit him, but... well, with a certain frame you will one-hit him, of course. Certain frame combinations, like I mentioned, you will. But it is going to take care of the Acolyte for you. If you're like me and you love beam weapons, for example, say you're playing a game mode like this and you're only using the Occucore and the Phantasma, which is great at killing everything else, but then an Acolyte spawns in, and since they have status caps, you have a real hard time killing them with status killing based weapons. That's when you can whip out the Praedos and have it be a nice utility for you. And again, you can of course use it like this and destroy regular enemies. So yeah, I would highly recommend using this weapon. Even if you do just use it for the parkour velocity, even that alone, like how I used to use it, it's really good. I love moving around faster. That's why I also love those Amber Archon shards for parkour velocity, of course. So let me know down below, have you guys ever used the Praedos before? If you're a newer player, obviously if you're a veteran player, you probably have, but if you're a newer player, have you maybe never even heard of the Praedos? Because for most of us, it's old news, so it's not covered a whole lot in videos anymore, and things like that. Hopefully it was helpful, hopefully it was entertaining, and I will see you guys in the next one. Enjoy the video and want to support the channel? The best way you can do so is to like, comment, and share the video along with subscribing to the channel if you think I've earned it. And if you want to catch me live on Twitch, my schedule is posted on the screen right now, so feel free to drop by and ask questions. As always, thank you to all of my YouTube members, Twitch subscribers, and Patreon supporters.